I'm Darren, and I'm your host, and you're watching Darren DIY. And now, without any further ado, grab a drink or something to eat, and I hope you will enjoy. So for the wood for this pathway, I'm going to be using reclaimed pellet wood. I am going to be using reclaimed pellet wood because it's basically free and it's already got that old wood look to it, and so it'll look even better, since I'm going to make this in my garden. I started by disassembling some pellets by using a sawzall. You can use a hacksaw or a jigsaw, but I personally found the sawzall best fit for this job. I just basically shoved the blade between two pieces of wood and cut the nails holding them together. After disassembling some pellets, I was left with this. Basically an assortment of different sized wood pieces. Now, since some of the planks had a bit of a beveled edge, I powered up my table saw and cut the bevel out so that the edge is 90 degrees. An important disclaimer to keep in mind when cutting pellet wood is to make sure that where you're cutting there aren't any nails in the way, as if so, you can say goodbye to your blades. Afterwards, I laid out 6 pieces of wood so that I have my desired width of around 45 centimeters. As you might already know, many similar wood paths are made with the wood pieces perpendicular to the direction of the path. But in my case, I'm going to make the path with the pieces of the wood parallel to the direction of the path, because I thought that this would be a bit easier, and I was a bit lazy as I knew that I had to cut a lot of angled pieces when it would have come to the curves. Anyways, I cut a few white pieces of scrap wood that I had laying around so that I can join the pieces together and keep the whole thing sturdy. I think that around 15 to 20 centimeters between each piece of perpendicular support wood is enough. After cutting them, I just nailed them using my nail gun, as that made things a lot easier, while making sure to keep the wood pieces compressed with each other so that we minimize the gaps between each piece of wood. Now that part where we'll be walking on is basically complete, and now we just need something to keep the pieces off the ground. You can choose to just throw the path pieces directly on the ground, but I decided that it would be easier, sturdier and better in some way or another if it were to be lifted up from the ground. So I decided to cut some wood stakes, no, not a tender piece of beef, but some pointy pieces of wood, that I can force them in the ground so that they can support the walkway. For this specific piece, I cut 6 pieces of wood, 2 for each supporting piece. I cut these from various sources of scrap wood that I had scavenged and were laying around. What I found best were 1 by 1 inch pieces, roughly a foot long, although I also used other sized pieces of wood. The important thing to keep in mind is that you have a piece of wood that's roughly long and wide enough to support the whole structure. Afterwards, I made 4 45-degree angle cuts using my miter saw to one side of the pieces of the wood, so that it would converge into a point and it would be easier to force the piece of wood into the ground. So to set this up in place, I firstly cleaned where I was going to set it up, and then I used one of the stakes to roughly mark where I was going to hammer the stakes in place. Then I just hammered them in place using a sledgehammer. I also used light strokes and a spirit level so that I could get the whole thing roughly level. And it basically sums it up, and you just need to repeat the whole process until your desired footpath length is achieved. You can also add a piece of wood to the lower side edges or even make a railing for the path, but I'll leave that to you to decide. So that's it for this video, and I will hope you enjoyed it and you will succeed in making your own wooden walkway. So if you want to support me to keep uploading videos like this one, make sure to subscribe, and if you have any suggestions about what I should improve or what I should make sure to bombard me in the comment section down below. So that's all for this video, I hope I'll see you in the next one, bye bye.